I don't flash.
Yeah, we can keep the fight. Keep the fight. Azir has nothing. Do we keep going?
Straight down, flash.
Jess is dead.
Can I attack?
Go attack.
Nice, good job.
Parus on flash.
I'm CC'd.
Azir.
I get him.
Azir flash.
Welcome back to LEC, everyone. I'm Ginny, sitting actually by with JNX and Isma from SK in the Merit Bonvoy post-game check-in. I want to start off with saying congratulations on getting a 1 in front of that 7, because I feel like Isma mentally, that must be such a relief.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is we are still out, right? But it feels good to at least have 1 win, like at least 1, because zero win in the World Split would have been really bad.
I mean, I was looking at the game, and everybody was, of course, that's why we're here. But we were watching the game today, JNX, and it felt like the team really showed up and there was more cohesion. You guys were a lot more aggressive. And something that Larson mentioned before we even went into this game was that the mental from SK is probably going to be better. Was that the case for you? Did you feel that?
I don't really think the mental was better for us because we were out. I think we were already, when we were like 0-4 last week, it was already like really poor, our mental state in the team. I feel like today we just had like a draft that is really easy to execute, and we also, in our last scrim week, if we won a game, then it was usually with like a draft like this. So it was like very just plug and play, and I feel like we didn't do many mistakes. And enemy team did some mistakes, so we kind of cleanly snowballed the game to a victory, actually.
Yeah, it was clean snowball, as you mentioned it. I want to ask you as well in terms of your experience so far with SK and how has it been? Maybe some of the games, as you talked about in the past, have not necessarily lived up to potential expectation that you had of winning, but there must have been some learnings and some takeaways from the last couple of weeks here in the LEC.
You want to know?
Yeah. You can take it.
I can take it. Okay, I think for learnings, it's really difficult actually to draw a lot of conclusions in terms of learnings when you lose so much, because also in practice we haven't been winning a lot. So it's like hard to pinpoint, okay, this is the issue or this is the issue, we work on this now. When, let's say, we fix a point and then there's more issues and then we have to drop the other one again. It's like really difficult, but what we can see from those games that we played is that we are not on the same page in game, and that's something we just need to work on.
Would you agree with that statement in terms of...
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the practice has been actually fine before we start the competitive game, but after the first 0-3 in the first week, you start to just question everything, you know, even the good thing that you do, you actually ask yourself if it's good. So like after the first week, it was actually pretty hard. But yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly right.
I want to then also ask you, Isma, in that regards, when it comes to being on SK, because you were on it last year, and then with the roster changes that have come through, and you mentioning that it was going really well in these practice games, how has it been for you? Because you're now playing against some of your former teammates, some of them are gone. How has it been to be that person that is still on the roster and that is carrying on into this year?
I mean, it's actually not an easy job.
Yeah.
Because I'm not that of a leader yet, to be honest. I struggle a bit to lead my team. I mean, I'm not the main voice, I feel like, yet. So it's pretty hard to fill that role, even though, I mean, I think I improved way more though this year compared to the last one, because even though the last one I was winning, I think it was mostly, I mean, I feel like at least I mostly get carry.
Yeah.
Usually.
Okay.
So like even though I lose this year, I feel like I grow way more as a player, and hopefully in next split we can get more wins and more wins, because I feel like in LEC, if you want to be better, it takes actually a lot of time.
Yeah, I mean, don't take away from your accomplishments last year, because you also had some great games and you have good games, which is why you're also going to be getting Kia Player of the Game. So it's going to be going to you.
Thank you.
I hope that in some form kind of makes you feel that you have, of course, earned your spot here, and that's why you're here today. JNX, I also would love to hear your opinion in terms of, you know, you're sitting there on the island. What's it like for the shot calling for the team? What are the loudest voices that you hear?
I would say it's Rika and Isma, but when I'm playing on, I think I'm doing my job. I'm saying when I want to fight, where I want to fight. But yeah, besides that, it's mostly Rika and Isma. And to that island topic, playing top lane right now in this current meta is kind of annoying with the lane swaps. So I really hope that there will be either players will find a fix to how to deal with lane swaps better, or there will be something from right towards lane swaps. Because as a top laner, we just suffer here, and I think that goes for every single one. Even if the team is 1-7 or maybe 7-1, top laners will say, yeah, this is not the most enjoyable time.
Maybe you can sign a petition. Every top laner, just like put their name on it. Please fix this. But thank you both so much for your time and for your honesty as well. I'm looking forward to your next game tomorrow, but SK in the future split as well. We're going to be sending it over to our casters. So Dagda and Medic for BDS against GX.
She said your name first, so you have to lead. That's how it works.
Well, welcome everybody back to the LEC. This is going to be week 3, day 2. And we're ready to find out what's going to be happening between BDS and GIANTX. My name's Dagda and I'm joined by Medic.
That's me.
Was that?
Yeah, it was good.
Because usually you do it, so I got to like...
No, that was solid.
Yeah.
That was solid.
Yeah,
you didn't... The hand motion was wrong.
Oh,
Remember?
yeah.
It's the clap on the back
and then hands out in front of me.
Which doesn't work because we're looking at GIANTX now anyway. Let's talk a little bit about GIANTX, because they came out swinging in the LEC. And I think a lot of us after week 1 looked at them and said, oh, they're a top place contender. And I don't think that was an invalid view at the time. I do think, on reflection, their schedule at the time was a little bit easier. And now they look more like a team that is fighting for 4th or 5th rather than a team that's fighting for 1st or 2nd.
Yeah, I think it was hard after week 1 to say that they were going to exactly where they were going to land, right? Because it is 1 week.
It's always hard.
But I think there's definitely you're starting to see the issues with their gameplay, especially last week going 2-1 and now starting off the week with a loss against Fnatic. You're seeing, hey, look, the side lane, playing through side lanes hasn't been one of the strong points. The way they set up for objectives can be caught out. So I definitely think they are looking more vulnerable than they did in that week 1. And now it's a curiosity to see, has BDS ramped up to their level? Because I think BDS were certainly a team that struggled coming in on the opposite side. But it feels like they're starting to figure out how they want to try and play out games. I think Ice, look, the flash from the Varus, whatever, I still think he has stepped up to be a pretty stellar carry for them.
Yeah.
And they've been able to play through him. Nuke also having some great games in the Jace. So I think BDS are also starting to figure out how they want to approach their style.
I also wonder if Parus is finding a little bit more comfort on the stage, because this guy coming through the ERLs, he was the support to watch, right? He was the guy that everyone was talking about. Everyone was saying he's going to be the next support that comes into EU and really changes the game a little bit. Haven't really seen that from him yet. And there is a jump from ERLs to the LEC stage. Like, so it's hard to judge someone that wins EU Masters. Are they actually better than someone in the LEC? Because of the jump between the two. But I would like to see more from him as a support. I think we are seeing a little bit more from BDS. Both these teams already locked into playoffs. Rogue and SK locked out, of course, after that last game. But positioning does matter. If you end in 7th and 8th, you play up against one of the teams who end in 1st or 2nd. So it's a very hard first match. Although it is double elimination, best of 3s when we get into our playoff format.
Yeah, I think it's when you get into the playoffs, it's a case of, look, you actually have to prove your worth, because you don't really get a fully easy path thanks to that double elimination, but we'll have to see exactly what the game plan is. Either way, Nidalee ban over Maokai is insane to me. Maokai is so incredibly strong, and especially still with picks like, you know, the Jaces open, the Varuses, the Ezreals, and they're not going to be taken away here. GIANTX need some heavy engage if they're going to try and go against this, because Maokai just offers so much in the current meta.
Super long range, non-committal engage, also a lot of CC, good at tower dives because he can drop aggro with the twisted advance. You can just team him up with something like a Braum as well, and then you have the more disengage if you need it.
I think we just need someone to actually start a copy pasta so we can steal it. How good Maokai is.
Okay.
And then we can just fire it off. But yeah, here you can already see they're going to go towards the poke. Varus already going to offer into that, and decent into the Kalista as well, because you do have that lockup. And then I think you can just go for Jace. Nuke's already been able to play it. You have that AP jungler, so you can already flex into the mid if you want, and still go top for Irrelevant. I think you're in a great spot then, BDS, coming into this draft.
Yeah, I really agree with you. It looks like instead, though, Ambessa will be locked in. Now, usually this goes towards the top lane. We haven't seen Irrelevant on it as of yet. It won't be jungle, obviously, because we've already got the Maokai, but it could be mid as well. We've seen some rumblings of it happening. Maybe a good matchup into the Orianna. And when you're picking it this early as well and giving GIANTX the possibility of counterpick, it kind of it lends you to the idea that it's more likely to be flexed because you don't want the enemy team just to be able to get a direct counter. They've gone for the Nocturne. They're making sure they get that Nocturne Orianna on board. So now BDS can look to ban out things that are good into that Ambessa if they want it to.
Right, so I think the Ambessa pick was basically BDS saying, hey, look, if we itemize too strongly into this poke, you still have the Nocturne that's there. They can go Nocturne Orianna, get some good engage off, but also the Ambessa can come in on 3, and that still can work relatively well into the Jace. That's why we saw banned away in the last game as well. So I imagine it was just a, hey, now if they try and play into us, we still get value from this Ambessa, but we can also wait and see what the rest of the draft is. I'm still unsure on flex picks on blue side specifically because here you just go for your support first rotation as GIANTX and then you get to see where the Ambessa's going. But I think it was we don't want to fully index into this until we see exactly what's happening on GIANTX's side.
I get that. Gallia removed by GIANTX. Renata taken away by BDS. Renata Kalista, obviously such a strong duo down in that bot lane. We already have the power of the Nocturne Orianna combo, which can decimate a backline if allowed to go unchecked. Where will GIANTX go with their next ban? They removed some of the long-range follow-up engage tools. I wonder if a Poppy ban would be okay as well. I mean, both teams kind of like Poppy in this situation. Into Ambessa it's good, into Kalista it's good, right? And we don't see either team going for support. So yeah, Poppy banned away, neither team going to get their hands on that.
Also because imagine GIANTX are setting up for a Rel pick unless it is taken away here, but even then you want to go into a Leona or some of that engage, so it still works well in that regard, yeah, because there's the Rel ban. I imagine it's something like the Leona. We have seen Nico also as an option into a lot of with the Kalista and a lot of times, especially at international, but yeah, I think you're crazy not to just go for your support here and wait to see where this Ambessa flex is before you commit with the Renekton.
It's possible that GIANTX just have no expectation of the Ambessa going mid, right? That is true. It could just be like, we do not think that Nuke is going to play Ambessa mid into Orianna, so we will pick the Renekton and save the flex for last, right?
Yeah.
We'll see if that pays off. It does mean they get Renekton very safe top laner into Ambessa does a pretty good job as well with the ability just to stun her up and sustain for himself as well.
I do think though, yeah, see, you still get that flex pick and also you get access to the Leona first here, which means you kind of need to go for the Alistar on the opposite side for Jun, which you're playing more on that defensive side of things. So that's why I would have preferred to see the support take here, but
I agree
here we go.
You. Yeah. I 100% agree with you, right? And as you can see, the Ambessa is going to be flexed into the mid lane. There's the Rumble and the Leona. So maybe BDS need to hire you for their drafting coach, because we saw that coming. It can still work out well for BDS. Obviously, Rumble into Renekton does, for GIANTX. Obviously, Renekton into Rumble is going to struggle a little bit in the early game.
Yeah, I also did just want to give a quick shout out to Nuke, because I always laugh at like 2 years ago, this was the guy where like, the champion pool is a bit grim, like we're not able to move outside of stuff, and this year he started bringing out the Jaces, he's now bringing out the Ambessas. It really does feel like Nuke can kind of step up and be a carry on anything, and I think it really does speak volumes to the amount of work that guy's been putting in behind the scenes.
I mean, he used to be called Nuclear Int, and people would emphasize the int part of his name.
Exactly.
People were asking, why are you building your team around this guy? Why do we see him as the mid lane year after year? And now he's having a pretty good year. Last year was pretty strong as well. Gragas support is the final lock for GIANTX. That's something we haven't seen in too long, but does work well into the Leona. If she ever goes for the Zenith blade, you just body slam her out of it. And then if they ever get onto your backline, you always have the explosive cask for the CC to disengage.
Yeah, and I think especially with the way the BDS have now worked their composition, it's way less about that poke. It is more about, hey, we want to get that engage and set up for these big team fights with a lot of AoE damage and CC. So I think in that regard, the Gragas actually works really well here. I think, yeah, if...
Oh, I'm sorry, that's a very cute Poro.
That is actually incredible.
Well Incredible. No, it doesn't work.
And, you went, at least you tried, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, the Gragas is going to be a great pick. We'll move swiftly on.
Thank you. Thank you. We will. We'll move into the game.
Yeah.
As we said, no playoff stakes left, but positioning in the top 8 is still important for these teams. Our top 2 teams at the end of the regular season will be seeded into different sides of the bracket, but don't get to pick their matchups, as far as I remember reading the rulebook. They will just be randomly assigned one of the 7th and 8th teams. Jun here, body slamming forward. Varus will spot GIANTX looking for this invade and back away.
Yeah, I mean, they can still brute force their way in here, to be perfectly honest, and just get some vision down. I think for GIANTX, trying to force the 2v2 is actually in your favor. So I think it's more to try and spot out where BDS are going, but you can see immediately they're shifting their bot lane to that top side to try and desync from the bottom lane. So we'll have to basically have GIANTX maybe just fish around mid and see if they can force the 2v2.
Minions have spawned.
they don't really have any vision on the top side to spot
Yeah.
this push up by Parus and Ice. A quick look over the runes. We have a deep ward coming out from the Leona. No real surprises there. Across the board, no real surprises when we look at runes. Is Conqueror Rumble. Not going for the Comet for that little bit of extra poke. Instead, the Conqueror for the longer, sustained trades against the Renekton, which you are going to expect. This ward's, yeah, it's far enough in the lane to spot Irrelevant working his way down here. If you place the ward just over the wall, someone won't be spotted if they hug that bottom wall.
Exactly,
so you have to make sure you just get it a little bit further into the lane so that you can see. Lot trying to trade with Irrelevant, but Irrelevant has the smite. We'll go back in with the Twisted Advance. Has quite a lot of damage on the Maokai, and the Sap Magic passive is going to do a bit of work as well. He'll walk away for the moment, but actually it looks like he's just going to disengage from it entirely, not going for the red. So Lot has kept his jungler ahead in camps if Closer can get up towards that top side before 113 invades again.
Yeah, I think at this stage, Lot kind of needs to find somewhere he can be, though, because I don't think he can stick around.
I can be mid.
Tower, but mid, yeah.
Gonna try and slice his way through Nuke for the moment. Nuke does still have the flash and is able to walk away far enough. The wave not in the best of shapes for him. Closer now down towards the bottom lane. Irrelevant is 3 minions away from hitting level 2 here. Locked up underneath the tower. The fear comes off as well. Jun tanks it well, and GIANTX get first blood.
Nicely done by GIANTX. So Lot won't end up giving across anything on this top side, but still hasn't been able to pick up much in the CS. He's still about half a level there. So at least he's getting some work done and helping mid lane out, but I think this Renekton definitely needs to get some experience. Looks he's just going to soak up some on the bottom side, as Ice will be able to just push in that top wave and make it be lost to tower.
Irrelevant not using the teleport back here either. Knows that even with level 1 it's going to be so difficult for him. The wave being proxied, yeah, Irrelevant's going to be kept away from experience for a long time. Difference is obviously that Ice and Parus are on the tower in the top lane, but those towers do still have a degree of fortification in the early game, even though it was reduced in Season 25.
And this is kind of the downside of 113 being spotted out on that top end, because it does mean that now they get all the information of, oh, he's going to go for a split map, so we can play for this hyper-aggressive style and not have to worry about people resetting. Parus also didn't reset on the top side, he was still showing on the wave, so that's why GIANTX know they're free to proxy underneath this bottom lane turret without having to worry about 113 and Parus suddenly showing up and kicking them out of the lane.
Nuke constantly at half HP in the mid lane here, was obviously chunked out earlier. Didn't really get his reset off, so he's just stayed in the lane trying to get this pushed out. Parus is in the vicinity as Nuke will use the repudiation for that little bit of shielding. And 113 did go for an invade, was able to steal away the red. But overall a good start for GIANTX. They have about an 800 gold lead. That's sitting predominantly on their AD carry, who now with a Vamp Scepter is definitely going to be able to win out trades in the top lane, assuming they are a little bit more sustained. Nuke's low again. Jackie's flash auto is not enough. Doesn't have the mana either for a command attack.
Yeah, the Clockwork wind-up damage would have been a surprising amount, but you can see it's just not going to be enough to tick through Nuke, so he's just going to back away. Wave is still going to be frozen in a relatively decent spot here for Jackie's, though, although that last range creep going to make it a little bit more painful, but in the grand scheme of things, Nuke should be able to just reset, come back in towards mid lane, and my eyes just start to drift towards Noah and Jun, because I think you were right. This is now a position where, with the early vamp picked up, you can really start to bully out this matchup, start to look for things like Void Grubs, and once you tick over to 6, Ice becomes a very real contender for a lot of this aggression from GIANTX.
It does have the cleanse, but it doesn't really work on the body slam or the cask out of Jun, with them being knock-ups, so it's going to be a bit harder for Ice to escape that. Can get away from fears and stuns and such, obviously, as the game goes on. 113 down towards this bottom side. Doesn't have a camp in his own jungle, so he's going to try and take away this Scuttle Crab. Gets the auto. Manages to get the smite in the middle of the Twisted Advance. Closer unable to close that gap quickly enough. Yeah,
I just coming back to Ice's summoner spells, like this flash is going to be a luxury for Ice, because once you take over to 6, it's like you get closer going in, you have to try and time the flash so perfectly so that then you don't get caught up with the shockwave combo with that Nocturne. And even then, you've got a potential cast coming in after. You've got Noah who can send Jun chasing you, so yeah, I think Ice is going to have to be very quick on the trigger finger to keep himself safe in this game.
Yeah, and for some people that watched, EU Worlds and perhaps haven't seen the Nocturne Orianna combo actually work, what it can do is
why would you do that?
You cast the shockwave as Closer goes in with the paranoia, and even though you're not in range where you wouldn't usually be in range to shockwave where Nocturne ends up, the shockwave still goes off. So it's very hard to get out of it. You have a very small window where as the paranoia lands, you have to flash to get out of the range of the shockwave, but incredibly difficult to time it properly.
Yeah, and even if it's not on Nocturne, even just him turning off the lights can set up for a Jun on a good flank because you can't spot out where he is, and then suddenly that's your engage tool, right? So there are a lot of ways GIANTX can make this combo work, and that's why I think, especially for Ice, you need to be careful. But also, in the grand scheme of things, BDS, a lot of melee champions could end up in some trouble, but Void Grub's now started. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a fight here. Gragas starting to move down. I don't know. Yeah, if BDS really want to try and contest for this, Jackie's now has push in mid. Nuke does have the public execution available, but 113 not having the ultimate available really makes this tough.
I mean, BDS are lining up for this. TP coming in as well from Irrelevant. Still only level 5. He needs about 1 minion to get that equalizer. 113 stepping forward. The Grubs not really taking too much damage as of yet. One of them down to about 1,000. 113 won't want to use the smite on the first. I think he did have to in the end. Now they're back away. Irrelevant's being chased out by Jackies and Lot down towards the bottom side. And like,
what?
BDS was so focused on the Grubs, as was I, that a lot of Jackies just jumped immediately onto Irrelevant, used the shockwave and just killed the Rumble.
But Irrelevant went back in. Like, he went in, you walked over another command attack, and the command dissonance was still available. He just didn't flash, didn't do anything, didn't even throw out the ultimate to try and buy space. It felt like he was waiting for BDS to come to his aid, but it just never happened.
Yeah.
That was bizarre.
It was a weird one. And BDS get 1 grub, GIANTX get 2 and a kill. They'll be pretty happy with that state of affairs. The first shockwave from Jackie's does come to fruition. Obviously none of the neutral camps for the feats of strength going over to GIANTX with that, with you splitting the Grubs. But there is a Drake, and now with Noah and Jun pathing down towards the bottom side, looking to almost hit their level 6s. Perhaps we'll see a fight towards it. 113 forced away from the Scuttle Crab. Paranoia going out. 113. Yeah, I think he did have to flash. I was trying to work it out, but with the fear on him, that unspeakable horror, the chase from Jackie's, it would have been enough even without the shockwave.
Yeah, especially as you start to get underneath the tower, it can get a little dicey because you will have that command attack and distance coming back off of cooldown relatively easy, or quickly, but 113 going to heal up, so should be fine for a potential dragon fight. And surprisingly, nothing was blown on BDS's side in that last fight, so they should still have a lot of this up and available if they want to try and contest for dragon as Ice starts to push in on bottom side.
The gold difference is at the bottom, looking like my solo queue history. It's a sea of red at the moment for GIANTX. 250 gold in the top lane, 450 in mid, and about 250 as well for Noah. Getting towards those first items. You can see Zerka Greaves first on Noah. Always the first item on Kalista. You need that extra attack speed. You need that extra movement speed to get your martial cadence off as much as possible. I think it might be martial poise, actually. Yeah, martial cadence is Jarvan's passive. Yeah. It's just like a 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, she jumps around.
I was just gonna say, it's like, it's so difficult to remember so many of these. I always get Sejuani ult and Lissandra ult confused as well.
Oh yeah, Tomb versus Prison.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And then there's Glacial Fissure as well when Braum's in the game.
Yeah, I don't mind that one too much because it actually looks like a hole in the ground. So I'm like, oh yeah, visually it looks like
Fissure,
it.
yeah, I can see you. I can see you. 113 here, starting up the Drake for the moment. Jun does have that explosive cast. Close up Paranoia, still a quarter of the cooldown left on it, and with him backing away, I think GIANTX have given up the ghost on this Drake. First Drake secured for BDS, as they managed to get a small advantage in the terms of neutrals.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where you're saying, like, Closer didn't have the ult, so they're just going to back it on up. And I think you can start to put a bit more pressure on bot as Lot pops the ultimate. Irrelevant happy to just scuttle away from this.
And Nuke's on his way up as well. Immediately as Lot went in with the Dominus, there were pings on where Nuke was. It's like, don't, please, man, please. I don't want my enemy mid lane to get a kill. Nuke was roaming around but couldn't find anything. You can see Irrelevant went for the plated steel caps first for just a little bit extra armor in this lane. Does give him a bit of a pseudo sustain, we'll call it, effective HP on the Rumble.
I do want to just say though, even though GIANTX are getting the kills and getting some of the early, like, they got the early Void Grubs and stuff,
sure,
BDS are still doing a good job of getting into the lanes that they're supposed to. Like, when you look at the CS leads, they're in favor of BDS. If you didn't get those early kills, and also the experience leads. So even though the go to the top is a little bit in favor of GIANTX, I think it is a bit fake because you're seeing those early levels come through from BDS. So if we are to look at the Void Grubs in about 30 seconds, BDS just have levels that are going to give them stats. For, well, not really, or sorry, will give them essential gold through those stats. So I think you still have to be careful here as GIANTX. And even no first item apart from an ending despair on 113. So I think BDS are actually in a decent spot if they do want to contest for these void groups.
We'll see if they decide to. Definitely want to try and take away at least 2 so that GIANTX don't get those mites spawning. At the moment, BDS are pushing forward. The vision control mostly in GIANTX's favor, although there's one ward just where Jackie's is right now. 113 is going to start up the grubs. Nuke was pathing down towards the bottom side. Now going towards mid. Lots on his way up as well from bot. 113, the only one on the grubs right now. Paranoia coming out. 113, there's the short game. Twisted advance, able to dodge away from it, but already Noah's got the kill. Now Lot on the back line. Parus trying to force him away. Chain of corruption going wide. Irrelevant knocked back into the team. The solar player into the public execution down towards the bottom side of the fight. Noah's already got a kill up towards the top. Irrelevant is exactly that. Has died again. BDS did manage to secure a grub, but lose 2 lives for it.
Yeah, the fact that GIANTX have this recall on towards Noah made the fight look way better for them than it initially looked for GIANTX, because BDS look for the engage with 113 irrelevant, think they're hitting multiple people, but actually everyone kind of just hops away. And then you're like, okay, now we get the re-engage, but yeah, nicely done by GIANTX. 4 grubs now, and they picked up more kills for themselves.
3 kills as well for Noah on this Kalista. He is in prime position to carry this game. Just needs that front line to be able to stand in front of him, as it's named to do. Next Drake up in 2.5 minutes. We'll see if GIANTX want to start fighting around it. You see this TP behind, it immediately really locks Ice out of the fight.
But look at the ultimate here. It's just lying down here, but because you get the pullback from Noah, you actually don't really end up in a position that you're hitting multiple people, because Jun hops away, Closer's the only one on it. Now you do end up with the fight on this bottom side where Jackie's gets caught trying to enter in, but GIANTX have already won on the top side of the fight, so what initially looked like a good ultimate from Irrelevant actually didn't get that much value, and 113 was bounced around, so didn't really get a great ultimate either. So those ult usages, not really playing a factor for BDS, and then those split out skirmishes are great for their composition.
I'd love to see in some of these fights if we can watch from sort of the paranoia point of view, because it's often easy when you have a spectator client just to be like, oh, why aren't they just engaging? Why aren't they just going in?
Yeah.
But with 113 being by the pit, with Irrelevant being on the other side as well, it's like Parus and Ice can see nothing past that.
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
Basically nothing they can see. So often players will ping where they think the enemy are, or like call it out in comms. But very tricky for BDS to take those fights, and now with the Blade of the Ruin King on Noah, he's in a very strong position overall. GIANTX trying to get control of the bottom side of the map. Nuke is the one answering for the moment. It looks like Noah's kind of been left alone to deal with it in a 2v1. Paranoia going in again. Nuke flashes away, but Closer flashes for the chase. And it's just the damage that comes out. Paranoia followed up onto Nuke. Everyone pretty squishy still on the side of BDS.
And there's nothing that they can do, because now you're in a position that you're going to push in, lose that bot wave. Noah's still fine underneath this tower. And was maybe a world where you could look for the dive there, as a lot of people were still committed from GIANTX onto that bottom half, but there's just no real answer for BDS, and GIANTX are continuing to amass this gold lead as they like.
Just very quick trigger pulls from GIANTX at the moment. Closer has been involved in 4 of the 5 kills. His Paranoias have been on point. Now has the experimental Hex Plate as well to reduce that ultimate ability haste and give him, I want to say, attack speed when he goes in. I'm trying to remember if it's just attack. Is it movement speed as well, or is it just attack speed?
I think it's just attack speed.
We'll say it's attack speed for now.
Let me double check.
You can Google it. Again, one of those items that pops up from time to time, but remembering the exactitudes of it can be ever so slightly tricky. 3,000 gold the lead for GIANTX as they set up around this Drake. Closer, no Paranoia for now. Oh! That Zenith Blade just tickled Noah. Wasn't quite able to connect. 113 again will start at the neutral. I will say, 113, the last couple of times you started up a neutral camp, you died pretty shortly afterwards. For now, though, it looks like GIANTX are going to back away a little bit. Paranoia about to come off cooldown. Closer can look for the engage. TP behind, though, and Closer won't go in. BDS invest the TP. They get Irrelevant out, as well as Parus shepherds him around the corner, and GIANTX couldn't quite find the engage.
Yeah, but GIANTX don't look like they're done just yet. Still trying to push forward into this position. Looks like BDS, they're just going to be able to back away.
Yeah. Would be pretty deep if they wanted to go for the fight. So it is attack speed and movement speed. Experimental Hex Plate. I knew somewhere in the deep recesses of my brain there was something about movement speed there. But yeah, second Drake of the game for BDS.
It's just the movement speed is nice, but when you have an ultimate that immediately clicks you on top of the person, it's, but here we go, loss. I've been in a little trouble.
Public execution was a possibility. Yeah, we only really saw it on Zeri and on Nocturne. And I'm going to be honest, movement speed doesn't really matter when you're ulting around those. It's like, I already have all of this movement speed anyway. So yeah, Nuke is going to get the push in here on the bot side. Does have a bit of free time with this tower, only a couple of minions. And before his minion wave is bolstered by that next wave coming in. GIANTX setting up around top with the Rift Herald up. You can see the next objective in their eyes. 1-1-3. Okay. Orders the Rift Herald. Last 2 times he's done this on this side of the map, he's died pretty much immediately afterwards. Closer is looking. Importantly though, Closer doesn't have the ball on him. Jackies will be able to take the top turret. Meanwhile, in the bot side, Lot and Nuke are just trading health bars. Nuke does have the TP, Lot has his as well. Now things over to level 11. Noah's there as well. 1-1-3 steps in. Pulls the Rift Herald out a little bit.
I do think Noah is very separated here, though. BDS could potentially turn onto him. And yes, Closer, Jackies do have that combo, but I think at this stage, you got to be so careful. 4 members of BDS here. Nuke on the way, but he'd need to TP now to be relevant.
Lots TPing in first. Paranoia. Everybody's out to get you, BDS. There's the engage. The Shockwave goes in as well, immediately onto 1-1-3, and Closer gets the Rift Herald. The explosive cast on the backline. Lot was locked up with Chain of Corruption. Equalizer. Solar Flare flashed from Noah. And BDS, although they have blinking health bars on the side of GIANTX, can't find the fight.
Yeah, and Closer end up getting the Rift Herald in the back of that. So GIANTX had to burn flashes. Nearly cost them a lot, but they get away with this. And now they're in a position where, Jackie's going to see if you can find Nuke, but just get a nice trade.
Nuke going Cyclosword here as well does make him a little squishier. If you look for the Eclipse first, obviously you get that shield when you go in for the trades, but Cyclosword does give you a bit more of a burst of damage, which makes sense if you're trying to assassinate the Orianna or the Kalista on that backline. Feats of strength over to GIANTX though, as you say, 4,000 gold their lead, and although BDS maneuvered the map well in the early game, they're now sitting, 2 towers to 0 down, 4,000 gold in the hole. A Rift Herald as well for GIANTX basically means it's 3 turrets to the good for them. And the gold lead is becoming more, I was going to say more insurmountable, but something's either insurmountable or not. It's becoming more tricky to deal with, Rob.
Yeah, and I do think that GIANTX have been doing a decent job of trying to split up these fights into almost small skirmishes, where it's much easier for them to operate. Because if BDS are able to go for this CC lock into a ton of AoE damage from Irrelevant, it can get difficult. But because Closer and Jackies have that combo, and then you're trying to deal with the front line as Noah, you're kind of automatically spreading out these fights into 2 or 3 pockets of people. And then you've gotten full value. Like Noah does very well in just being able to focus down one target. Closer as well doesn't want to be like hard focused in these fights. He wants to be able to get a lot of auto attacks off. So in the grand scheme of things, I think GIANTX have been doing a decent job in maneuvering in these fights, so BDS can't get that easy front to back that they're looking for.
It's also a willingness for GIANTX just to jump on 1-1-3 a lot of the time, right? Like it's just we'll hold the paranoia for as long as possible. We'll force BDS to back away, and then we'll see if we can just one-shot 1-1-3, who now alongside that Unending Despair does have the Merc Treads and a Kindle Gem, so is a little tankier, and he has gone directly into the tank route. He hasn't gone for the Leandries that we often see from a Maokai, but that's because he's got AP in the top lane, so he doesn't need an extra AP source on his team. Rift Herald goes down though. That tower sitting low enough that a single Rift Herald charge should just take it out of the game.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they wanted to wait until Dragon was up, but it looks like they just say, hey, look, we've managed to get push on top and boss. Let's just use this to get the mid lane turret down, and we still should be able to contest mid wave with Noah and Jun, so we don't have to worry about it too much about using that as our factor for Dragon. But yeah, I'm waiting to see exactly, like, Jackie's going for resets, trying to finish off his second item here. Maybe you can get it. Yeah, there he goes, just for the reset now.
I've been thinking more about how BDS play this game, right? You have the Maokai, you have long-range, non-committal engage, but then you do need some follow-up, right? And it's like, if someone's out of position, Solar Flare, Chain of Corruption, you can look for some lockdown on them. But if no one's out of position, how do you actually engage? Because the Paranoia can be a disengage tool, and then this Gragas pick is so difficult to deal with. If the Leona's going in with the Zenith Blade, body slam her, right? If she tries to Solar Flare the back line, explosive cast. No one can actually really get in, and even if Jun's then overextended, he's got the face call to pull him out.
Yeah, I do think the way you play this as BDS is that counter engage. So as Closer and Jackies are going for this wombo combo in the back line, you essentially throw out the Maokai ult at that stage, so then you can buy the space so Noah, Jun, Lost can't actually follow up, and then you turn and burn on Closer, who has now gone very deep on the play. But the problem that we're having is that 113 is taking so much damage at the start of these fights that he's no longer able to play for it, and he kind of just has to throw out the ult to save himself. And I think this is where people have kind of gotten away with themselves on the whole unending despair conversation. Like, yes, it is a ton of value, but you are not particularly tanky when you actually have it, because it's very little magic resist and armor. You don't actually get a ton of health with it, so you kind of need the rest of these items to come through before you really can, and I think that's where 113 is getting caught out, and then Nuke is getting caught out.
And Nuke caught out on the top side. It's going to try and dash his way away with that Drake hand step. Here comes the paranoia as well. Public execution will still be feared as Closer flashes forward for the chase. Parus chased out by Jun. Nuke already down. Voracious Atakan's available, but it's a little bit early to be doing that, even though you've just killed out the enemy top laner, especially against the AoE that BDS have. Instead, looks like GIANTX will just accept the kill, get some vision control, and then back away.
Yeah, I think they're kind of... I think there is a world where you could have gone for the objective as well. Like, it still would have been able to force, like, tier 2 towers. You're still able to get the tempo lead that you really want to, but oh, Parus, buddy.
Shockwave will pull him back into the body slam. Parus has to flash the wall. Closer won't chase any further. His paranoia is still... It's only a third of the cooldown left on it. See how quickly that comes back up with the experimental hex plate. GIANTX just have total control over this top side. Parus now without that flash engage tool as well.
Yeah, and you're in a position now where Locke gets to push in on bot wave, so Nuke should move down here to answer. And the amount of vision means that you can't really face check this. You can see 113 at least having the saplings makes that a bit easier. But you're still hard forcing vision control in your own jungle, whereas you're now getting reset timers for Noah to get a second item and push himself back out into the map. So I think BDS, they just haven't really, it feels like, figured out how they want to operate with this composition. And GIANTX, it's very simple. It's ease of execution winning out in this game.
Credit to GIANTX as well. They have played around vision really well. They've got wards behind BDS here, spotting that as they go across towards the Atakan. In terms of ultimate, Closer has the paranoia. Noah looking, well, he's on a massive flank here. Nature's Grass coming out from 113. They'll look for the engage towards the top side. Closer, though, with the Shroud of Darkness, stops it. Equalizer goes down as well. Irrelevant looking for the damage towards the top side, but Noah's opened up onto Nuke down towards the bottom. Voracious Atakan picked up by BDS. 113 going in with the Twisted Advance. Parus misses the Solar Flare. 2 false lives have already gone. Make that 3 as Noah begins to open up. And BDS, you got the objective, but at what cost? 1,000 gold over to GIANTX. All the false lives already gone. And I guess for BDS at least, GIANTX didn't get the Atakan.
Yeah, it just cost you 1,000 gold for it instead. But yeah, again, like, this is where they're using the 113's ultimate aggressively, whereas you just can't. Closer blocks it, it does literally nothing, and then you're able to follow up with the engage. They end up picking off Nuke in the back line. Ice is in the next target, he just gets chased down, and 113 is just not doing anything against Noah. Even on the top side, you can see Irrelevant is trying his damnedest, but these ultimates need to be used as space control, like getting Noah out of a fight, making sure Jackies can't follow up and Locke can't follow up, but instead we're seeing them kind of tossed out higgledy-piggledy, and they're just not getting value from them.
Very much agree with you. We asked a question at the start of the game, like, had we overrated GIANTX, so we thought too much of them after week 1? I think we've kind of evaluated them properly looking at it, right? Like, they can still challenge for the top, but 3rd, 4th is probably where they're going to end up. Like, maybe 4th, 5th if we really look at it. They are the BDS of last year, but in this year, they're the gatekeepers to the top, although BDS perhaps gatekept the finals rather than, you know, the semi-finals.
I do think, though, like, even if it may not be this split, I think there is a hell of a lot of potential on GIANTX.
Yeah.
I think it's just about, like, getting people like Jackies and Lot to understand how they can use side lanes effectively. Their team fighting with Noah and Jun still looks great. So, and you've got hands for days in this team. Maybe
execution. So Nuke does still have his false life, it seems. The only one in BDS who has it. Jackies was able to teleport out, yeah, with no CC left on Nuke, so could escape by him. I think, did Nuke die before the false Voracious Atakan was picked up? Yeah. One of my main qualms with the Voracious Atakan is it's the only buff that you get if you're dead.
Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're dead, it's just the same as any other buff. You shouldn't get access to it, but yeah, it makes moments like that kind of a bit silly where you're like, oh, okay, well,
they were 8.
I don't get the tempo now, but I kind of half get it later, and you're like, okay, yeah.
I mean, there's many qualms to be had with Voracious Atakan, let's be honest. the revive a very powerful mechanic, and that's why we see teams so often, we'll say play around it. What we mean is throw around it, Rob.
Yes.
As the Drake now begun for GIANTX, will be their second of the game. BDS were able to delay things by taking the first two, but GIANTX 7-1 ahead in prime position to close this one out. BDS, though, might try and up the tempo by looking towards the Baron themselves. The ward over the wall will be spotted by Lot. And so now, the question is, do BDS stick or do you twist off and look for a fight? They're still on it right now. Nature's Grass coming out. They don't have too much damage. Paranoia now being used. The control ward in the back of the pit gives a vision. 113 the target. 113 in there. Closer gets it with the smite. 113's smite was just too early. Irrelevant dies trying to keep GIANTX at bay. And it's a gift for GIANTX wrapped up by 113 and BDS.
And that might just be a wrap now. GIANTX get to push in towards mid. They're going to take that mid lane tower. Resets coming through on top side, but I just don't get it. I mean, in these sort of positions, again, like, you're never getting value onto the target, which is closer, that you're trying to keep out of the pit. I don't know why they keep throwing out the Maokai ultimate so early. And Irrelevant is always separated from the team. Like, he's looking for these bigger Rumble ultimates, but I think you can just play to keep Jackie's out, keep Noah out, but they're just not really getting value from the ultimates.
It's going to be hard now for BDS to hold as well. Their wave clear is not the best. 2 melees and a Varus isn't the easiest to clear out waves against GIANTX. They will have a little bit of poke. GIANTX with the Baron buff can push in. Jackie's obviously no TP. It's going to start to back away. The wave's not synced as much as GIANTX would like, so they are going to base spend the money that they have in their pockets and then still have about a minute and a half after they get towards these waves to push in with the Baron buff.
Yeah, it does mean that maybe they can crack open the base, but it's going to be tough. Like, you have 3 waves to work with here, but yeah, you can see here, like, Closer just spell shields the Maokai ultimate, then immediately goes in. You still get the Orianna ult on top of it. Jun tries to get the knockback but misses, but the smite was so early. And then Lot is just playing keep away with Nuke and Ice on that top side. As the rest of them focus Irrelevant. Like,
yeah,
the value plays are just there when it comes to ult usage and also positioning from GIANTX.
I think the only way you can excuse 113 there is you did see a barrel coming over the wall, and often if a Gragas ults it, you're expecting more damage than a Locket Kindle gem Gragas is going to put out, right? It's instinctual in that moment. Wasn't able to get it. Closer with a couple of good smites this game. Saw the Rift Hold earlier on as well as taking the Baron away, and now an 8,000 gold lead for GIANTX means that they have total run of the map. Irrelevant was catching a wave in the bot lane. That's relatively neutral. We'll slowly push out. BDS trying to defend towards top. 40 seconds on this Baron means, yeah, it might not even break the base, as you said, Rob. They're looking for a tier 2 on the top side right now. And they might go for it. Flash, twisted advance into the solar flare. Chain of Corruption. Nuke goes in as well with a public execution. They burnt everything on Jackie's, and they have managed to take him down. Irrelevant here as well. The Equalizer does clip Noah, but doesn't do too much more. Jun going back in with a flash body slam. Pulled out with the Fate's Call. Lot trying to defend against Irrelevant towards the side. Jun looking for a little bit more. In the end, BDS are able to defend. 113 gets the kill. And they do get the shutdown on Jackie's.
Yeah, it cost a lot, but they managed to get the shutdown and the kills and stop that tower on the top side from going down. So 113 gets the knockback. A nice setup here with the ultimate to basically cater for that knockback. Then the public execution, and they do get the kill. The fact that you managed to get the follow-up flashes is the more important part to me, like Noah having to flash away there, because you do have Dragon in just a couple of minutes. So this is where now you've got targets like Noah that won't have their flash available, won't have that cleanse available. And I think that's where you're maybe going to be able to find value here as BDS.
It's true. 113 doesn't have a flash, nor does Nuke, nor does Parus, though. So we'll see how effective those flashes can be. Ice has his flash, but he's already had a very small problem with flashing forward on a Varus in a tense moment in the game. I think the play was understandable, was justifiable. It didn't work, though, and often those are the ones that really haunt you when you're that close to winning a game. As you can see, GIANTX have initiated a pause. As a reminder, the rest of today is pretty spicy, even though we do have the 8 teams in our playoffs locked in. We have Fnatic versus KC after this, then Heretics Vitality, which is, I'm pretty sure, just going to be 2 teams punching each other as hard as they can for as long as they can. And then G2M Koi to round it out. So it's a pretty exciting day of games coming up after this one. For now, this game's got a little bit more tense with BDS landing a small punch, but most of the haymakers have come out of GIANTX so far this game.
Yeah, I think it's like a minute now until Dragon. It'll be the third Ocean Drake for GIANTX, which is kind of just nice to have, but not the end of the world. So if I'm BDS, at this stage I say, look, let's just try and play for getting some more items on towards Nuke, like 3 items for him, and actually make him much more of a threat in these fights. I'd like to see some sort of health for Nuke, or 1-3, but here's the engage.
Paranoia coming out.
Good flash.
Shockwave was used as well, but great flash, as you say. Closer now just too deep, and you can see if Closer goes too far, you put down the Nature's Grasp, you can really lock him up and catch him out. TP in from Irrelevant. Drake up in 20 seconds time. Explosive Cask used by Jun as well, just to disengage, make sure he gets out to safety. BDS have a man advantage, a jungler advantage, importantly, for the next 17 seconds when that Ocean Drake comes up. They're looking for the tier 1 in the mid lane. Parus went forward with the Solar Flare. No real follow-up by the rest of BDS. They do have that public execution, but apart from that, only the equalizer in terms of ultimates. Some honey fruit for Parus to heal him up.
I think BDS just got a little eager once they got the pick, with Irrelevant TPing in. Then Parus felt the need to try and force something because we invested the TP. Maybe we can get some of the standing gold, but it's just going to be the Dragon. They will be able to walk away, but the lanes are still being pushed in by GIANTX, so now Closer back on the map. You kind of need this to happen a couple more times.
You do. And I think you always get to this portion of the game where it's, if GIANTX win the next fight, they probably win the game.
Yes.
If BDS win the next 4 fights, they probably win the game, right? Especially if they're round objectives. For BDS, it's still a long road home, but they do have a 3-item Varus who's now got a Giant's Belt building up towards that Jack show.
But it's a flashless Varus now, which makes things a little bit easier for Closer and Jackies to go for that play, because the reason we're saying nice flash was Ice flashed away from the Orianna ultimate, so they were able to deal with Closer. That's just not an option anymore, so now he's way more vulnerable to that strategy. You also still don't have control over the Baron, which is in 20 seconds, whereas you're looking at like Noah will have his flash up just after that is available. Pretty much everyone on GIANTX actually will, and now you've got tools to jump onto some of the more vulnerable carries on BDS's side.
Definitely makes sense. At the moment, GIANTX just controlling this top side, 10 seconds on the Baron. Nuke is going to get the push through bot, still only sitting on 2 items. Compare that to Jackie's Rabadon, Storm Surge, and the Archangels, all stacked up into that Seraph's Embrace. And GIANTX just have total control of this top side. It's going to be so hard. Like, 1-1-3 can walk forward. He is pretty tanky, has the Knight's Vow, has a little bit of extra magic resistant ineffective HP. Parus isn't that tanky, though. Especially, like, Locket gives you some MR, but he doesn't have Merc Treads. If he gets chunked by this Orianna, it is going to stick. The Celestial opposition will give him a little bit of extra tankiness, but you can see how tentative BDS have to be. Lot's now going to show on the bot wave. BDS spot him as he clears out a little bit of vision. They know they have a small opportunity here. The Baron can be begun by GIANTX. Remember the spears as well from Kalista, something we haven't talked about too much this game. TP comes out from Lot. A few spears in the Baron now.
Yeah, but Noah, they waited for his flash to be back up, so everyone on GIANTX very safe. 1-1-3 now trying to force his way through.
Jackie's has to flash away from the public execution on the backline. Closer, caught out. 1-1-3 goes over the wall. Jun will follow. Down towards the bottom side. Jackie's actually jumped on by Nuke, but they just nuke him immediately. Nuke was so far away from the rest of his team, he was in a different postcode. Lot's gonna flash away from Irrelevant. Parus and Ice now trying to open up, still have that chain of corruption. No Nature's Grasp, Fate's Call comes out. Noah able to just to dash around for days, and Parus is rended asunder. Noah still dances in the middle of the fight, and Irrelevant can't burn him down. 1-1-3, the last to die. He'll get to the blast cone. Won't fall yet, but Closer and Noah will chase him out as GIANTX make a beeline down mid.
GIANTX are just constantly on the same page, and BDS are left scrambling. The mid inhib will soon fall, and it may just actually be 1-1-3 with it. I was a little nervous as I saw Jun moving topside, but yeah, this game, it's unplayable for BDS.
They were just so separated in that fight. I'd love to see a replay. Like I'll rewatch it at some point, right? We don't actually have to see the moment, but Nuke was so far away from everyone else. It felt very split. 1-1-3 obviously went over the back of the wall because Closer went over the back of the wall, and that I can kind of understand, but BDS not on the same page, and GIANTX definitely are. Now, the Baron up for GIANTX. They are all chunked out a little bit. Lot is going to keep 1-1-3 at bay, and the Baron already down to 3,000 HP. 1-1-3, no flash, no way in. GIANTX will secure the big purple worm.
Yeah, I mean, look, you get to see it here. I think it's the ultimate, the Nocturne ult, causing a little bit of issues because Closer ends up being dragged over the wall, and then Nuke is like, oh, I'm still going in, but Ice doesn't know where he's gone to, and then Closer actually uses the ultimate to close the distance on towards Nuke, so you end up with 113 being very separated. Lot is doing a fantastic job here of just drawing a ton of attention to this bottom side, but BDS, they just look like headless chickens. They don't really know where they want to go. Nobody wants to commit to the top side with Nuke. 113 is completely out of position because of the flash, and then the other three members are kind of going, well, do I help 113? Is he in trouble? Or do I help Nuke? But because they lack the vision, they just don't have the information of where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, just super split all around from BDS, and GIANTX doing a good job of just collapsing on the man who was by himself. BDS now trying to defend against this Baron for 2 minutes time. The engage goes in. Paranoia out onto Closer. Equalizer towards the top side there with the Nature's Grasp. Already we're going to see Jun falling for the first time this game. Nuke was able to escape. Lot has a GA. Noah and Jackie still very healthy. Basically, full mana on Noah as well. Jackie's down to half. No shockwave for him, though. With Nuke surviving, burning his flash. No Paranoia, no shockwave. Drake up in 20 seconds. It would be Soul for BDS, and although Ocean Soul not always the most impactful, still pretty powerful when you're at a 10k gold deficit. Closest Paranoia about half the way before it comes back off cooldown. Irrelevant, a little bit far forward. Flash, Zenith Blade with the Solar Flare. Public execution onto Jackie's. And down goes the Orianna. Now BDS, a two-man advantage. The Ocean Drake in their eyes and the Soul.
I cannot believe that BDS are managing to find these moments to come back, and it's so consistently around these flashes. Nuke being able to flash away from that mid-jungle combo in GIANTX, and then they just leave the rest of their team out high and dry. So BDS find the pick, and then they're just in a much more consistent spot to find the fight back.
Both the times the team has got the advantage in this game has been from the other team being uncoordinated in the fight, right? BDS being uncoordinated at the Baron. We saw mid lane when Ice did have a very good flash away, but Closer was so far away from his team when he went into Paranoia. Here we see it again. Nuke, good flash away, but Closer is so far away from Jun, who's being engaged on, from Lot, who can't be that distraction because, well, BDS have already got on top of Jun, and there's no disengage there for him.
Also, good solar flare from Parus.
Yeah.
It looked like his team was a bit far away, but Trusty Nuke had that public execution to follow up and just immediately barreled down onto Jackie's. And look, it's still not out of the woodwork yet, but BDS certainly in fighting position a lot more than they were 5 minutes ago.
I mean, zero tenacity on the Orianna as well, so you know that solar flare is going to stick if you land it in the middle and get that stun down. It's still a 10,000 gold lead for GIANTX. Last year, when we talked about Souls, we said they were 3,000 to 5,000 gold worth of stats. I'm not sure how relevant those numbers are now, but it's still it's a rough estimate that we can use. So overall, GIANTX still very much in a winning position.
Yeah, I think it's just the fact that it's burst on GIANTX. If it was a bit more poke, I'd be like, this is insane. But you're kind of just deleted the second GIANTX find the fight that they want, so you don't get much value off of sustain. But if they can continue to play around these flashes, make sure they're safe, I think they're in a decent spot. Whereas for GIANTX, it is a pick your targets better. Like, you thought you could make that pick, but with flashes up, you're looking more for the high value plays or even burning significant flashes before objectives start to come up.
Closer and Jackie's once again teaming up to push through this top side. No objectives up for the next 2.5 minutes at least. Elder 4 minutes away, so more just about pressure game right now.
Yeah, but the problem is this is kind of, look, they will get top tower here, so at least GIANTX using the pressure on the map well from mid to top. But one of the things GIANTX, what they don't even get it, have struggled with is trying to play at the map state in their favor, and especially when you've got a Nocturne, a lot of what you want to be doing is putting Jackie's in a side lane, which you're like not really used to do on an oh my god, what?
In. He's a mile away, but the solar flare's gonna land. Jackie's stunned up. Nuke trying to get in with the public execution as well, but he's not in range. The equalizer not really hitting anyone, but Closer's on the back line, he's already dead. 113 is Survivor, an absolute angel. Nuke is here in time. Jackie's is executed, and now it's all on Noah and Jun to really open up. Lot's gonna go into the GA. Jun pulled back with a pace call. Parus locking himself onto Noah, but Noah's dancing and dipping and weaving his way around the fight. Noah down, Ice takes him, and the engage from 113 looked like absolute int, but was actually perfection.
I'm in shock. I thought that was the most useless engage on the planet. I went, Nuke is nowhere near you. Ice is just dancing back and forth going, I can't do anything with this. But by some miracle, BDS pull it out and make it work.
His name's 113. His scoreline is 2-2-6. He's 2 times the man we expected him to be in this game, bro. Absolutely incredible, because you can see what they're thinking. It's like, if we go in...
Luke is over here. Ice can't do anything. And then I'm like, there's no way this works, but 113 surviving for so long in the background, actually getting value from the Unending Despair and the Ocean Soul. A lot of TP incredibly far away, so he's basically trying to play catch up. And the damage is there. Like, I am shocked this worked out. Like, Noah is doing everything he can to try and get away, but Ice just has more protection there for himself, and he comes out on top.
I think one of the big things you'll notice in that fight was Jackie's did not shockwave. He was distracted, so intent on getting away from the fight that he didn't have the time to shockwave. And Closer was in the middle of 4 people, but you're not the ones doing the snap engage. It's a lot harder for you to then react and be like, oh, now we can shockwave Paranoia, now we can do it. Jackie's now does have his flash up, 113 doesn't have his, nor does Ice. Irrelevant doesn't have one either. 113 looking for that flank with the Nature's Grasp once again. Solo play about Jackie's! Oh, the public execution going in as well, but already they've dived in. GA's going to be popped. Jackie's trying to chase off Nuke towards the top side of the fight. Noah dancing around. Parus misses his end play. In the middle, it's just a massive meat grinder, and it looks like Irrelevant is putting them on fire, but Noah continues to dance around. 113 goes back in, has the sap magic. In the end, it's GIANTX that come out on top of the fight. 113 running for his life. Somehow a lot closer, and Jackie's survive it. 113 will he get out alive? Closer still on the chase. His Shroud of Darkness doesn't stop the slow from the Bramble Smash. Jackie's has TP though, 30 seconds before anyone on BDS is back up. 113, the Ocean Soul actually helping out a ton here. Closer trying to trade back in. 113 still surviving. They're just trying to distract him for as long as they can. Closer will have that dust bringer back out. 113 can't catch the wave. The wave now beginning to crash towards the Nexus Towers.
10 seconds on towards Parus though. Now 113 is able to get in position. Ultimate to just try and clear the wave. Towers. They just need the wave.
Nature's Grasp comes out, but the wave does not die with it. And GIANTX, they fight back somehow. The solar flare will not be enough. GIANTX rise victorious.
What was this game? This started off as a clean and easy performance from GIANTX, and very quickly it just went everywhere, all over the place. It's on the walls, I don't know.
It's classic strategy, man. We call this impressionism.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Impressionism is actually very much more dignified than this, I'm gonna be honest. This is surrealism. We have clocks melting all over the place. You can vote for one of your key player of the games, players on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Closer, Noah, and Jun are the options. Yeah, I think Jun had a really good game. Noah also, like...
Yeah, Jun and Noah were insane. Like, to give them their due, but those fights were... What?
We're going to go to a short break. Match of the week is up next, though. Fnatic versus KC with Dracos and Jack Spectra. Woo!
Wait, is he switching lanes?